Let us begin with a prayer. This is on page 48 of this book, The Universal Prayer, The Universal Prayers, the first one on that page. This Shanti Mantra is from the Upanishads. Om Apyayantu mamangani Vak pranaschakshushrothram Atha balam indriyani cha sarvani Sarvam brahma upanishadam Maham brahma nirakuryam Mama brahma nirakarot Anirakaranamastu Anirakaranam me astu Tadatmani nirateya upanishatsu dharmaste mayi santu te mayi santu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May all aspects of my personality, including the body, mind, sense organs, the prana shakti, vital force, may all become stronger and function in perfect concert. This whole physical universe, which is perceived by the mind through the sense organs, is nothing other than the ultimate reality described as Brahman in the Upanishads. May I not reject this truth. This has been verified by experience by innumerable sages. This truth, may I accept it as a hypothesis to begin my spiritual sadhana, spiritual practices, to experience this truth by myself in this very life. As I am engaged in this noble effort of experiencing my true divine nature, may all the virtues described in the Upanishads come to me and reside in me. May all the virtues such as truthfulness, strength, purity, straightforwardness, may all those virtues come to me and reside in me. Om peace, may there be peace and joy in our hearts, Adhyatmika Shanti. May there be peace and harmony amongst all beings, Adi Bhautika Shanti. And may there be peace everywhere in nature, Adi Daivika Shanti. Good morning and welcome to all of you to continue our study of the Ashtavakra, teachings of Ashtavakra. We have been studying this for a couple of times we met. This may be the third meeting. So far, we have studied some practical instructions that Ashtavakra has given. His main teaching is Advaita Vedanta. I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am not the sense organs, I am the self, I am the Atman. Infinite, eternal, formless, attributeless, pure consciousness. But before he gives that message, Ashtavakra gives a few practical instructions by way of preparation. This was in response to Janaka's question. This book, Ashtavakra Samhita, is in the form of a conversation between two Brahmagyanis, very interesting. One is Janaka, the king emperor who was a Brahmagyani, and Ashtavakra, of course, from birth, even from before birth, he was a Brahmagyani. So that story we studied earlier, how he happened to be called as Ashtavakra. His body became bent in 8 places, and all those story part we have done. Now, Janaka's question, the book begins with a question from Janaka. He says, how to get liberation? Muktim kathamavapnoti. How to get vairagya? These questions Janaka asks. How to get self-knowledge? Jnanam kathamavapnoti. In response to these questions from Janaka, Ashtavakra gives 6 instructions in one shloka. The shloka number 2 in the first chapter. The 6 instructions are the practical teachings that we all have to and can and have to practice as a foundation for our spiritual life. The first thing that that Ashtavakra says is, if you wish to have liberation, muktimichasi chet. Ashtavakra says to Janaka, if you want to have liberation, then first thing you have to do is to give up all attachment to all sense objects. Vishayan vishavatyaja. Second verse in the book, first chapter. Vishaya means all sense objects. Everything other than the self is a sense object, including the body, our mind, and everything. So we'll discuss that one. Vishavatyaja, as if it is poison. It is attachment to sense objects that is the cause of all misery in human life. All limitations, all misery, life after life. First instruction, give up attachment to sense objects. He says, give up sense objects. Vishayan tyaja. You cannot give up sense objects. Something, we have to, our body itself is a sense object. How can we give it up? We need food to eat, clothes to wear, things. So what he meant is to give up attachment to these things. We can have the things that we need, but no attachment. Because they are not ours, they have a purpose, we use them for a certain purpose, and that's it. We should not seek happiness in the sense objects. Sense objects do not have any inherent capacity to give us any lasting, unconditional, eternal happiness. Only Atman can give. That's first instruction. Muktimichya chetata vishayam vishavatyaja. Then 5 more things to do. This is one thing not to do, not to have attachment. Give up sense object. In the same shloka, second verse, he says, Kshama, Arjava, Daya, Tosha, Satyam, Piyushavad Bhaja. Piyusha means nectar. Nectar means that gives us immortality. What are the things we have to pursue? He says, Kshama. All of this we studied earlier, I'm just quickly reviewing it. Forbearance, forgiveness. Kshama, Arjavam. Arjavam is straightforwardness. Total transparency in your personality. What I think in my mind should be reflected in my speech. Speech and thought must be same. And what I say in words, I must follow it up in action. Action must be same as what I say. What I say must be same as what I think. That's straightforwardness, Arjavam. We studied in the Gita also, several places. Sri Krishna mentions Arjavam as an important virtue for a spiritual seeker. Kshama, Arjava, Daya, compassion towards all beings. Compassion should be based not in a condescending way, but recognizing the same divinity in all. The bodies are different necessarily, forms are different, pursuits are different, but essentially there is only one divinity present in all. That is the basis for all human relationships. Advaya Tosham. Tosha means contentment. Remaining content with what we have, what comes unsolicited. Yadrichhalava santushto dvandvatita vimatsaraha. Bhagavad Gita says, Yadrichhalava santushta, whatever comes on its own. With that, we have to remain content. The opposite of contentment is greed. The desire to acquire more and more, hoping that more possessions will bring more happiness. That's not true at all. So content. Kshamarjva tosha satyam, most important virtue. Truthfulness. This is one virtue that everyone, whether we are seeking spiritual realization or just remaining in the world, pursuing worldly activities, everyone has to pursue this. This is, Patanjali calls Satyam as Sarvabhauma Mahavrata, of universal relevance and universal and eternal relevance. Relevant in all places, under all circumstances, at all times. Satyam can never be changed. Sri Ramakrishna said, in the Kali Yuga, truthfulness alone is the tapas. So that Ashtavakra mentions, Kshama, Arjva, Daya, Tosha, Satyam, these 5 things, Piyushavad Bhaja. Practice these things as if they are nectar. That is the practical part of Ashtavakra's instruction. Now, before he goes to the main topic of the main teaching, namely Advaita Vedanta, I am not the body, I am the Atman, etc., he gives one more instruction, Ashtavakra. That is in the 11th shloka, 11th verse of the first chapter. Very important instruction that applies to all of us. Then there he says, something that is already known very well, intuitively. He says, what you think that you will become. This is in the Upanishad also. But he makes it simple here. What you think that you become. This is sloka number 11, first chapter. There Ashtavakra says, Mukta bhivani mukto hi baddho baddhapi manyapi kim vadanti satyayam yamati sagatir bhavet. Very important instruction. Yamati sagati. A very important instruction. Applies to all of us. He says, Mukta bhimani mukto hi. Mukti means liberation. Freedom from all suffering, all limitations, freedom from the cycle of birth and death. Liberation, salvation, moksha. Mukti michasi. Mukta abhimani. One who thinks that he is free. Positive person. I am free, what can bind me? Nothing binds me. I am the child of God, I am a servant of God, I am a devotee of God. What can afflict me? That's such a person. Mukta abhimani. What happens to such a person? Muktohi. He becomes freed. And the opposite also. Baddho baddhapi manyapi. Baddhapi mani means a person always thinks, oh, I have such problem, I am bound, I am limited, this is my problem, I cannot do any progress, I am stuck, I am suffering. So this kind of thinking. Baddhapi mani, what happens to such a person? Baddho, he remains bound. So, what we should do, we have to change our thoughts. We'll come to that. The second line in this 11th sloka, he says, Kim vadanti satyayam yamati sagatir bhavet. Concluding instruction. Kim vadanti means adage, what they say. Kim vadanti. Vadanti means they say. What they say is true. Satyam. Kim vadanti satyam. Iha. In this world, what they say is true. They means who? Wise people. People who know the truth, who have experienced the truth. What they say is true. What did they say? Yamatihi sagatir bhavet. As you think, so you become. Gati means destination, where we go, what happens to us. That depends upon mati, what we think. Mati means mind. Mati also means our thoughts. As I think, so I become. This is very important instruction. It's a Kimvadanti means an adage. An adage is a statement reflecting common wisdom based on experience, given to us by sages, wise people, what they say. For example, in conversation they say that exercise is essential for good health. They means who? Those who have done exercise have benefited from it, like that one. That's kimadanti. That kimadanti, that adage is true, satyam. That what you think, that you become. This is proven by experience. A person who constantly entertains negative thoughts, I am sick, I am limited, I have this problem, or a person who always is angry, greedy, jealous, those negative qualities are reflected in the body. A person who is always angry can have hypertension. A person who is always stressful can have stomach problem, acidity. Like these are called psychosomatic diseases. Diseases reflected in the body because of improper negative thinking. That you know from experience. By constantly affirming in the opposite, to do the opposite, constantly affirming, I'm a child of God. I'm a child of the King of Kings. I've taken His name. What can afflict me? I'm well. By constantly thinking in this way, then we remain well. A person remains well. He thinks like that one. This is also known from recent studies in neuroscience. Neuroplasticity. That means the mind is, our brain is malleable. It can change. Our thoughts can change the neural connections in our brain. New neural connections can be formed at any age. And that way we can change what happens to us in our life. Then Ashtavakra says, what you think that you become, yamati sagatir bhavet. In Swamiji's Karma Yoga lectures, the Karma Yoga book that has 8 chapters, the first chapter is called Karma and Character. How our actions, thoughts, speech and actions shape our character. That Swamiji has explained nicely in the first beginning 2 or 3 paragraphs of this first chapter, Karma and Character. What I am this moment, this personality you are seeing in front of you, sitting in front of you, what I am this moment, happy and happy, ill or well, whatever, this personality, I have sculpted myself impression by impression over a long period of time. Whatever I have been thinking, all thoughts leave an impression on the mind. All actions leave an impression on the mind. Everything I say leaves an impression on my mind. These impressions keep on accumulating. And the sum total of all these impressions that I have gathered by my own actions over a long period of time is what is my personality today. What I am is what I have made myself. On my own actions and thoughts and gathered impressions that I have accumulated. That means Swamiji says, you are the master of your own destiny. You can become what you want to become, but it's not a very quick process. Tomorrow morning when I wake up, I don't become a very healthy, knowledgeable, wonderful person. It's a very slow process. It has taken a long time for me to become what I am today, life after life. So we should start the process somehow. From this moment onwards, I am going to think positively. I am not going to think any negative thought, impure thought. I am not going to entertain any negative thought or impure thought. I'll repeat the God's name and keep my mind pure. By doing this gradually over a period of time, slowly our personality changes. That is the gist of Ashtavakra's teaching. Yamati sagatir bhavet. Change your life, change your thoughts, and change your life. The same thing is mentioned in the Gita. And this possibility of changing our future, becoming the very best human being and achieving the goal of self-realization is available to everyone without any exception. No one is barred from this possibility. Especially in the Gita 9th chapter, Bhagavan Sri Krishna says, even those who have indulged in very bad conduct over a period of time, those who have been behaving well, they will do well. But what about those who have done very bad deeds, sinful actions out of ignorance and whatever? Can they also change their personality and see God? Yes. Affirmative action, affirmative reply Sri Krishna gives. This is, there are 2 slokas in the 9th chapter. Sloka, verse number 31. There, Bhagavan gives a very positive message, very encouraging message for even ordinary people who have done some mistakes, who has not done any mistake in life. They can also change their life and achieve the goal of self-realization, perfection. There Bhagavan Sri Krishna says, chapter 9, 30-31. Api chet suduracharo bhajate mam ananya bhak sadhureva samantavyaha samyak vivasito hisaha. Sudurachara means a person of bad conduct, durachara, very bad conduct. Api chet, even if a person has been like that, he or she can change the direction. Bhajate mam ananya bhak. That person decides to pray to God constantly, giving up all bad thoughts and habits. Bhajate mam ananya bhak. What happens to such a person? Saha sadhuraiva mantavyaha. That person has to be thought of as considered as a sadhu. From that moment onwards, he has changed his life. How can this person who has been so bad can become a sadhu? Samyak vivasito hisaha. That person has now changed his life and is on the right path, established on the right path. Sudden transformation or gradual transformation can happen. You can see the example of this in Valmiki's life. Valmiki was a hunter and using violent means of livelihood, supporting his family. But Narada and Brahma, they encountered him. Why are you doing such sinful act? Do you think? He says, I want to support my family. Go and ask your family, do they share your sins? Your sins are yours. They are not going to share your sins. Valmiki goes and asks and comes, hey, that's true what you said. So they teach him Rama mantra. Repeat Rama, Rama, Rama. Your full mantra is also difficult for him to chant because he doesn't have any background like that, Valmiki. He took it seriously, started chanting Rama's name for a long period of time it took. Then what happened to him? Became the famous Adikavi, Ramayana he wrote. See, such a transformation can happen even in an ordinary person's life. Apiche sudaracharo bhajate mam ananya bhak. If you pray to God, think about God constantly, such a person has to be considered a sadhu, sadhureva samantavya. And it happens, sometimes it happens quickly, it doesn't have to take a long time. There, next verse, Sloka 31 in chapter 9, Bhagavan says, Kshipram bhavati dharmatma. Kshipra means quickly. Quickly such a person becomes a dharmatma. A Sudrachara, person of bad conduct can become a dharmatma quickly. Kshipram bhavati dharmatma, righteous person. What happens then? Shasvat chantim nigachati. He experiences eternal, permanent peace. Shasvat chanti. Such a person can experience eternal, permanent peace. Peace that passeth understanding, they say. It can happen to such a person. Then Bhagavan says to Arjuna, Kaunteya pratijanihi name bhaktah pranashyati. The last 4 words are very important. Bhagavan gives a promise. O Arjuna, proclaim pratijanihi. What? Name bhaktah pranashyati. My devotee shall never perish. That is the message that Ashtavakra gives very succinctly in one sloka. Yamati sagatir bhavet. That important teaching Ashtavakra gives before he begins his main teaching of Advaita Vedanta. So that sloka is very interesting, number 11 in the first chapter of Ashtavakra Samhita. Mukta vibani mukto hi baddho baddhapi manyapi kim vadanti ha satyayam yamati sagatir bhavet. That's the thing to remember. Now he begins his, from sloka 12 onwards, or even before a few sloka, before 11 also, Ashtavakra gives his main teaching directly. He says the gist of his teaching is, you are not the body, you are not the mind, senses, and the 5 elements, Panchamaha Bhutas. You are not a Brahmana or a Kshatriya. We have classifications in society, somebody is Brahmana, somebody Kshatriya, somebody Shudra, Vaishya, etc. None of those qualify the Atman. They are all referred to the body, mind at best. Not to the Atman. You are the Atman. You are neither the doer of action. No. You are not a householder or a monk. The 4 ashramas in the traditional way of thinking, Brahmacharya, a student phase of life, Grihastha ashrama, householder's phase of life, Vanaprastha ashrama, repairing to the forest to contemplate on God. It used to be like that in earlier times. And finally, sannyasa ashrama, total renunciation, pursuing God full time. That was how the 4 stages of life are considered in the earlier stages. He says, you are neither a brahmachari, you are neither a householder, nor a vanaprastha, nor a sannyasi. All those are qualities of the body, mind. The mind says, oh, now I have taken sannyas, I am a sannyasi. Until now I was a brahmachari, household. I will become brahmachari now. I am married, I have a household, I became householder now, grihastha, I am married, I will have a family, and until then I was a brahmachari, and then I will become anaprastha. All those are qualities of the mind, changes that happen in the mind and body. Atman is not a brahmachari, not a sannyasi, not a grihastha, not a householder, none of these things. Also he says, you are neither the doer of actions, nor the enjoyer of the fruits of your actions. You are neither karta nor bhokta. We generally have a very strong feeling of agency, doership. I am doing this work. I am eating, I am walking, I am going to work, I am teaching, I am cooking. All these actions, we have strong feeling of kartrutvam, notion that I am the doer. That is only a property of the mind. The mind says I am the doer. Body is the instrument for all actions. Atman is neither the doer nor the enjoyer of the fruits of action. When I do some action, result will come necessarily. Good, good, bad, bad, none escape the law, Swamiji said in the Song of Sannyasi. And who enjoys or enjoys or suffers the fruits of one's action? The person who does the actions. Both kritva. All of those, none of those affect the Atman. You are free from all of these. You are none of these things. Virtue and vice. Dharma, adharma and dharma. You are not. Those belong to the mind. The mind can be dharmic, adharmic. Speech can be dharmic, adharmic. Actions can be dharmic, adharmic. Atman is above all these things. Nothing qualifies you. You are none of these. You are the eternal witness of the whole universe. Then who am I? If I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am not the sense organs, I am not a brahmachari, I am not a householder, I don't have dharma, I don't have adharma, I am not the doer, I am not the enjoyer of the fruits of my action. None of this I am. Then who am I? Tattvamasi. Upanishad says this succinctly in several places. Some of them are Mahavakyas. Upanishad says who you are. He says, Aham Brahmasmi. You are that Brahman. Tattvamasi. You are that. And who is that? Not body, mind, not material nature, but spiritual nature. Prajnanam Brahma, pure consciousness. There we can't understand. Up to that we know. Body, mind, sense organs, action, in all the fruit of action we can understand. But what is pure consciousness? You cannot define consciousness. Because consciousness is something that enables all actions to happen. All definition, all speech, all actions happen only because of the presence of consciousness in the body, mind. That's the root. You cannot go back and explain the cause, ultimate cause which makes everything possible. We'll examine that a little bit in detail later. Then, before we go to that details, two more things to be thought about. Why this knowledge is important? So far I've been living, thinking I'm the body, I'm the mind, and somehow life is going on. Why should I suddenly start thinking I'm not the body, I'm not the mind, I'm Atman? Why that is necessary? That means, why is that knowledge of the self necessary, that I am the Atman necessary? Because all suffering in human life, any kind of suffering, very intense suffering comes. All limitations, birth and death, rebirth, again, all of these things happen only because of our ignorance of our true divine nature. Swamiji says, famously, each soul is potentially divine. That divinity remains potential in everyone. In everyone it is present, even in inanimate objects, in trees, in animals, in people, good people, bad people, wicked people, saintly people, same consciousness is there, unconditionally. If you know that, then you are free from all suffering. If you don't know, if you spend our whole lifetime thinking I'm the body, I'm the mind, I'm such a person, I'm an engineer, I'm a doctor, I'm a father, I'm a son, this is my house, I own the property. These things, if we keep on thinking, full of limitations, suffering is inevitable. Every kind of suffering that we experience in life can be traced to one ultimate cause, namely ignorance of our true nature as the Atman, as Brahman. When that self-knowledge is gained, end of all suffering. You can remember Sri Ramakrishna's parable in the Gospel. There he says, he gives the parable of a lion cub, which grew up thinking it was a sheep among the sheep. We will skip the story part, we all know that one. A lion cub grew up among the sheep, doing what the sheep did. The sheep ate grass, it also ate grass. And whatever the sheep did, the lion cub also did, moving among the group of among the sheep and thinking it was a sheep. It happened for some time. Then what happened? A big lion comes and it is in search of food, fish, sheep. It says among the sheep, this one lion is also there, small lion. Then the big lion catches hold of the small lion. Why are you moving along the sheep? You are not a sheep, you are a lion. A lion, I don't know what a lion, I am a sheep. These are my brothers and sisters. I grew up with them. What is lion? The lion does not know what the lion is. All its life it was thinking it was a sheep. Very limited. Then lion teaches. That you know the story. You are not a sheep, you are a lion. Then when it realizes, oh, you look at me, reflection in the water. The big lion says, the small lion looks up the reflection, its own reflection, and the big lion's reflection, they are both same. Only one is younger. Oh, I've been a lion all my life. Yes, you have been a lion. Who told you are a sheep? That moment it changed. Began to experience this nature as a lion. That's the truth. Like that we are doing. Upanishad says, Rishis have been saying for centuries and millennia, you are not the body, you are not the mind, you are the Atman, no limitations, pure consciousness, infinite, eternal, Sachidananda, all joy and bliss, unconditional bliss, eternal bliss, infinite bliss, that you are. And we are thinking, no, I am a human being, I have this problem, that problem. We are thinking, let that lion come. So, the main goal of life is to know our true nature and not squander away this very precious gift of human birth. All the time thinking, I'm the body, I'm the mind, I'm this, I'm the engineer, I'm this person, I have this problem, I have that problem. That's not the truth. It's far away from truth. Truth is I am that. Aham Brahmasmi, Tattvamasi. That we have to experience. So that is the goal of life. Why suffering is there? Because of ignorance of self-knowledge. Then what we should do, goal of life is to realize our true nature. This very precious human birth has been given to us. Most precious gift is human birth. Has been given to us with one purpose, namely to realize our true nature as the Atman. Only as a human being we can realize that one. Animals and plants, and they cannot realize about their nature as Brahman. Not possible. It's only from the human platform that we can rise to the divinity, level of divinity which we truly are. Human birth is very precious. Shankaracharya says, three things are very precious, very difficult to accrue to the same person. What are they? Manushyattvam, Mumukshutvam, Mahapurusha Samshrayaha. These three things are very rare. Dullavam Trayamevetad. Devanugraha Hetukam. Only by the grace of God these three things can happen to a person, accrue to a person. What are they? Manushyattvam, human birth. Not only just a human body, there are so many human people, apparently having a human body, but they don't have any human qualities. They behave as if they are animals or worse. That won't do. Human birth, human qualities. What is human quality? Aspiration to rise higher, to know our true nature. That must be there. Compassion, love, charity, all these things are human qualities, must be there. That has been granted to us. Mumukshutva, the desire to know, the desire to become free from all suffering. So many sufferings afflict us human beings, and we always strive to become free from sufferings. But there is only one solution to that, permanent solution to all problems of life, and that is self-knowledge, Atmajnana. Without self-knowledge, Atmajnana, we can't become free from any limitation or any problem. Only that gives true, eternal, infinite, indescribable peace and joy. That's the goal of life. If you don't do that one, no matter, the third thing is Mahapurusha Samshrayaham, the company in the guidance of a holy person. That also has been granted to us by enormous grace of God. Many people don't have that facility. All the three things necessary for realization have been given to us. So in spite of this, having all these facilities, if we don't do that one, spend our whole life in ordinary worldly pursuits, then we will have squandered the most precious gift of human birth. So the goal of life, human life, is to realize our true nature as Atman Brahman and become free from all limitations, cycle of birth and death, everything stops. In the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, there is a nice, the long, nice conversation between Yajnavalkya and Maitreya. Yajnavalkya is a householder, greatest Vedantin of that time. He has two wives, Maitreya and Katyayani. And after some time leading the householder's life, Yajnavalkya decided to go to Vanaprastha, as was the custom those days. Then he calls his two wives and says, I have decided to go to Vanaprastha. Now you ladies have two choices. You can either stay in this household, you had accumulated a lot of wealth, gold coins and cattle. Those were the indicators of wealth those days. Because he was the greatest scholar, he had defeated all the scholars of his time and he was rewarded. All this money is there, property, cattle, gold, coins, everything is there. You can have this and stay. Or if you wish, you can follow me to the forest. In the forest, you cannot take any of these things. You have to live simply in a hut, thinking only about God. Your choice. Katyayani says, quickly she makes up her mind. No, I don't want to go to forest with you. I will stay here. I will take care of the property. And this is what I want to do. Yajnavalkya says, fine, your decision. Maitreyi has some questions. She has difficulty making a decision. Should I stay as a householder here and continue with the property, everything, or should I go to forest with my husband? What should I do? Then Maitreyi asks a question. What happens if I stay with the household? I know I can have the property managed. But what happens if I go to the forest with you? Then Yajnavalkya says, you will get self-knowledge. All this money, wealth, property, these things cannot give you immortality. Amrtatvasya to nashasti vittena, Yajnavalkya says. Amrtatva means immortality. That means knowing our true nature is immortality. Body, mind cannot be immortality. Atman is immortal. Knowing that, experiencing it, that cannot be acquired by wealth. Amrtatva asha vittena nasti. Vitta means money will not bring that one. After some cogitation, Maitreyi decides to go with her husband to the forest and a long teaching. He teaches her. Yajnavalkya teaches his wife many, many things. There he says, among other things, the goal of life is to know our true nature, which is eternal, infinite, pure consciousness, Brahman. Without reaching that goal, if we lead whatever, no matter however much famous we become, powerful we become, rich we become, none of this really is of any consequence. While saying that one, Yajnavalkya makes this very famous statement in their conversation, long conversation. He says to Gargi, Yova etadaksharam Gargi aviditva asmalokat praiti sakripanaha. Two things he says. O Gargi, that person who leaves this body, departs from this world, asmalokat praiti, departs from this world, etadaksharam aviditva, not knowing this eternal Brahman, Aksharam Brahma Paramam, Param Brahman, not knowing that, leaves this world. That means has led a worldly life and been successful. Such a person, who is such a person? Sakripanaha, wretched person, will have wasted the most precious gift of human birth, will not have achieved anything. All this name and fame and property, possession, position and power, none of them is of any consequence. On the other hand, who has fulfilled the goal of life? Yova etadaksharam gargi viditva asmalokat preti sa brahmanaha. That person who knows this truth about his true nature, this Parabrahman, experiencing his divine nature, then leaves the body, departs from this world. Saha Brahmana, he is a knower of Brahman, Brahmajnani. That's how important this knowledge is. Now let us read a few slokas from the first chapter, where Ashtavakra gives the main teaching. There are many slokas, I will read a few of them. Muktabhimani Vidya. Ashtavakra says to Janaka, Na prithvi, na jalam, na agnihi, na vayurudhyau, na va bhavan, esham sakshinamatmanam, chidrupam vidhi muktaye. Mukti, liberation, muktaye. If you want to have liberation, moksha, as Janaka was asking, then we have to do this meditation. You have to think in this way. He says, Na prithvi, you are not the earth. The earth, the five elements, among them prithvi is one of them. Akasha, Vayu, Tejas, Jalam, Apaha, Prithvi. These are five elements of which the whole physical universe is made. Our bodies are made of these five elements. In the Vedanta, the periodic table is only by five elements. In the chemistry periodic table, they have more than 100 elements. They are the basic constituents of everything in this universe, the physical part. You are none of these things. Esham sakshinamatmanam chidrupam vidhi muktaye. Esham sakshi. The witness of all these five elements, witness of the whole universe. Everything that we are seeing is a drishya, is something that we are seeing, objects of perception. Seeing means through all the five sense organs. Seeing, touching, tasting, smelling, hearing. All of these objects which we can see, perceive through any of the five organs, there are sense organs, there are objects. And who is the person who is saying? He is a sakshi, he is a witness. The witness cannot be the witnessed. That's the main point that he is going to make. Esham sakshinam atmanam chidrupam, of the nature of pure consciousness. All this that we are seeing is material in nature. Material means they have a beginning and an end, and they change, every moment they are changing and they go out of existence. Chidrupam, your pure consciousness. Muktaye vidhi, for liberation you have to know, you have to concentrate or meditate on your true nature. You are not the body, you are not the mind, you are not the five sense organs. You are none of these things. Who are you? Chidrupam, pure consciousness. Muktaye vidhi, know this for liberation. Then in another sloka he says, Avipradiko varno nashrami nakshagocharaha asangosi nirakaro vishvasakshi sukhi bhava. Tvam na vipradika. Vipra means a Brahmana who has studied the Vedas. There are 4 levels, 4 stages. When a person is born, just an infant being, it has no Vedic knowledge or anything. Like Ashtavakra was an exception. Even in his womb of his mother, he knew all the Vedas. But ordinarily, when a baby is born, it has it has to go to a preschool, ABCD 1, 2, 3, 4, then study the scriptures. Though, how does it become a vipra? Natvam vipradika. Veda pathi bhaved vipraha. There is a sloka, I think it's from Manusmriti, I am not sure, where it says, Janmana jayate shudraha. Karmana bhavati dvijaha. Veda pathi bhaved vipraha. Brahmajnani brahmana. Brahmajanati brahmana. When does it become a Brahmana, a true Brahmana? Not necessarily when one is born in a Brahmana family, only when a person becomes Brahmajnani, Brahmajanati Brahmana. like that one. Like Yajnavalkya said in the previous shloka. Vipradiko, we are not a Vipra, we are not a scholar of Vedas. Vedapati bhaved Vipra. However, Vedas you may have studied, you are not that. All that knowledge that we gain, two kinds of knowledge, Paravidya, Aparavidya, all of that will fade away with age, and then when this life ends, that will also end. If a person has a PhD in this life, then next life, when the person born again, he cannot use that PhD. He has to start from preschool, ABCD, 1, 2, 3, 4. What happened to all these PhD research and papers, everything? Only with this life they end. Vipradiko varno. Nashrami. 4 ashramas are there. Brahmacharya, Garhastya, Vanaprastha, Sannyasa. You are none of those things. Na akshagocharaha. You are not the objects of perception, visible to the eyes. Asangosi. Asanga means totally non-attached. In the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, there is a famous statement. It says, Asango hyayam purushaha. This Atman is free from attachment, no attachment, asanga. We are full of attachment. Human beings, ordinary human beings, we are attached to everything. We are attached to the body, our thoughts, our opinions, the property we have, house, money, cattle, job, family. We are attached to all these things. But a Brahmajnani is free from attachment to anything. A Brahman, what attachment can be there? How can pure consciousness have any attachment to anything? Asangosi. Nirakaraha, no form. Everything else has form. That's how we can see objects. Human being has a form. That form keeps changing, but form is there. Akara. Brahman is Nirakara. You are free from all akaras. Vishwasakshi, you are the witness of the whole universe. Whole universe is there. I am not a part of the universe. I am the witness, separate from this. Witness means I am someone who is watching something, seeing something. So that seer has to be necessarily separate from the seen object, drishya. The seer is the drik. The seen objects are drishya, seen objects. Necessarily they are different, separate from each other. If I am seeing this book, looking at this book, I am the seer and book is the object. I can't be the book that I am seeing. Seer, seen are different. Digdash Viveka, they say that seer is not the seen. Vishwasakshi, knowing this, Sukhi Bhava. True happiness comes only by knowing our true nature as the Atman, as the witness. The moment we descend into the field of drishya, I am the doer, I am the thinker, I am the person who performs all actions, I have this property, I have this qualification, I am such and such a person, I am an engineer, I am a father, I am a child. The moment we descend to that level of duality, that moment misery is guaranteed. The only way to become truly happy, enjoy true eternal, infinite, unconditional joy, ananda, is to give up all these attachments, false identifications. Sukhi Bhava, knowing this one, that you are the witness, you are not any of this other thing that you define yourself to be. You are the Atman. Knowing that one, what happens? Sukhi Bhava, be happy. Like this, Ashtavakra gives more instructions. We shall pursue this next time. One more thing before we leave. All objects that are seen, perceived, drishya, all of them change. Constantly they are changing. They come into existence at a certain point in time. Everything we are seeing, including our bodies, was not there before a certain point in time. They all came into existence at a certain point in time, including the world, including the universe. Big Bang theory, they say, before that no universe was there. Space and time were also not there. At some point they come into existence, Adi. At some point later in time they all go out of existence, Anta, inevitable. In between, many changes happen. According to Vedanta, 6 changes happen to everything that comes into existence, Shadvikara. Some of these we have seen before. Anything that we see, the human body is the best example. We are more familiar with that one. It goes through 6 changes. It's a first change is coming into existence, Janma. This book was not there, always there. At some point this book was made, paper, printing, binding, everything. Now it is there. Janma, everything has a beginning, birth. Then Asti, Astitvam. Everything exists for a finite duration of time. People live up to 90, 100 years. Animals live even longer, 120 years. Some trees live even longer, 1,000-year-old trees are there. And then some things disappear very quickly. Birds and other small things, they don't live very long. And small things, subatomic particles, they live only fraction of a second. Then they disappear, disintegrate. Everything has a finite duration of existence. That is astitvam. Second. Third thing is vriddhi, vardhate. Everything grows, appears to grow. See the child, when before birth, child was not there. Child came into existence, nice baby, cute infant. Everybody appreciates what a cute infant like that one. Then it grows, becomes a toddler and a preteen and a teenager, and like this goes. Vardhate, grows. The next thing that happens is parinamate, everything changes. Everything has been changing from beginning, but changes become apparent. We notice changes. A teenager becomes a young man, then middle age and old age, etc. Changes happen. Parinamate. Then what happens? Next change is, fifth change is apakshiyate. Everything begins to degenerate. Everything has been degenerating from beginning, but it becomes clear, everything is going downhill. At one point, everything seems to be going up, growing and everything, becomes strong, middle age, then everything slowly goes downhill. Apakshiyate, apaksha. Then what happens? Final change? Nashyati. Everything goes out of existence. This applies to everything, including the sun, including the galaxy. So many galaxies are there, millions of them. They all go through the 6 changes. Galaxies form, they grow, and they exist for some time. They change, and then they disintegrate. They merge into a black hole, and we don't know what happens after that one. They no longer exist. 2 galaxies collide with each other, and changes happen. These 6 changes happen to everybody. Only one thing is there that does not undergo any of these 6 changes. Not even birth. It has always existed. There is no date of birth for Atman. It always existed. It will always exist. And in between does not change. Pure consciousness cannot change. Material things will change. And you are that. Nirvikara, you are that changeless, eternal being. Remember that, experience it, and be happy. And that is singular, only one. Bodies are many, Atman is one. How can it be? You are all different people. I am separate from you, you are separate from others. How can there be one? This made clear in the Gita in a simple way, simpler way. There is only one consciousness pervading all the bodies. Physically, we are all different. We have to be. Everybody's body is different. But if we inquire into our true nature, go deeper and deeper in true nature, we all converge and become one spiritually. A good example of this is, how can something be different at one level, same at another level? a tree is given in the scriptures. If you look at a big tree, at the top, you get the view of multiplicity. So many different branches and sub-branches, twigs, and so many different leaves and fruits and flowers and other things are there. So many different things, multiple. You go back, trace them to the trunk level, when they all converge into one trunk. No matter how big the tree, no matter how many branches are there, trunk is only one. The universe is somewhat like this. All beings are different. Humans are different. Among humans, so much variety. Everybody is different. Animals are different. Among animals, there is so much variety, and nature is so different. Also, so different. No two things are exactly alike. Even identical twins are not exactly alike. There are differences. But when you trace their origin, where does the body come from? What is the essence in the body? If you go deeper and deeper into inquiry into our true nature, everything converges into one pure consciousness. How do we know this one? The scriptures are our main pramana, proof, Shruti pramana. It's very simply put in a simple language. Bhagavan Shri Krishna says the same thing in the Gita. He says, Kshetrajnam chapi mam middhi sarvatra kshetreshu bharata. Second shloka in the 13th chapter of the Gita. Sarva kshetreshu, in all the bodies, kshetra means a body. Not only human bodies, animal bodies, plant bodies, earth, sun, they are all kshetras, whole. In all those bodies, mam ekam kshetrajnam vidhi, know me to be the one indwelling spirit. Containers are many, content is one. Content is, our essential content is pure consciousness, Atman. Container, body, they're all different. It's just like if you go to a kitchen, so many pots and pans are there. They're all different. Their forms are different, their names are different, their functions are different. But in all of them, only one space is there, empty space is there. Space in the cup is not different from space outside the cup. It's not different from space in the hall. Space in the hall is not different from the space outside. All one space. Appears to be divided in different containers. Avibhaktam cha bhuteshu vibhaktamiva cha sthitam. 13th chapter, I think sloka number 19, I think. Avibhaktam. This pure consciousness, Atman, is indivisible, only one, cannot divide it into, space cannot be divided into parts. One space. But it appears to be divided into different compartments and parts because it is seen in association with different containers. If there are 4 different cups here, pots and pans, different sizes, shapes and functions, everyone has the same space, all of them have the same space. Each space in the cup has a different shape and size depending on the container, color. If supposing the green glass, empty glass, the glass is green, but the space inside the cup is not green. It appears to be green from the outside, green space. But without the cup, space has no colors. Essentially colorless, qualityless, but appears to have acquired some qualities and shape and size because of the container. And that association is very temporary. Atman is one in all. Because of its association with many different bodies of all different types of use, animal bodies, plant bodies, saintly bodies, wicked people bodies, trees, animals, all contain only one container. These are all containers. Each one of it is a container. What is the content? Atman, only one. Sarva kshetreshu mam kshetrajnam vidhi. Most important statement, which is what is explained in the Upanishads, ekameva dvitiyam, mentioned nicely, simply in the Bhagavad Gita. So in this way, Ashtavakra continues his teachings. We shall continue this next time when the opportunity comes, by the grace of God. Now I shall stop here and say the concluding prayer. Om sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet. Om shanti shanti shanti. Om, may all be happy. May all be free from ill health and other problems. May all realize what is noble and dharmic and practice. May no one be subject to misery. Om peace. May there be peace in our hearts, Adhyatmika Shanti. May there be peace and harmony amongst all beings, no ill will, no hatred, Adi Bhautika Shanti. May there be peace everywhere in nature, Adi Daivika Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Sarvam Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Thank you all for coming. Have a nice week. See you next week. Every day of the week we have some class. But tomorrow class is cancelled. Swami Atmagyananji is in California. He'll be back Wednesday. So next week, Mataji is speaking. Next week, Sunday service will be Pravrajika Prabhupada Pranaji. Mataji is visiting us. Same at 11 o'clock here. All of you please come. Thank you for coming. Namaskar.